Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
Welcome back. Oh my God.
Welcome back. Welcome back to What's on Tap podcast, where Stefan is apparently dying.
Yeah, I don't know, something's going on. I think it might be the time of the year where you get this little kind of itch in the back of the throat and just kind of catches us sometime. So that's what I'm feeling.
Or he's inhaled the air from these two beers, because I have been dungeon spelunking.
It is, I say, the air is ripe with
dust,
with beer and beer fumes and dust.
So I pulled out two old beers from the cellar. I don't think either of them have survived.
I think you're wrong. I think one is going to be really good and one is going to be cardboard.
Oh, I think we're starting with the cardboard.
I think we are too.
We've never reviewed Struise Brewing out of Belgium on the show.
I would have swore we had at least one Struise beer on the show.
But
I don't know what it would be. Maybe
Struise Black Albert is a common one.
That's pretty. Yeah, we get that Panapots. I haven't had any of the Panapots.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all.
Maybe,
I would have sworn.
Maybe you entered them as the Struise with no space. I searched for them. I searched for them on What's on Tap podcast.
I would have swore we have done a Panapot on here. If not, we need to rectify that, because I think Panapot's definitely worth reviewing.
But this beer is Black Damnation II Mocha Bomb. And before we hit record, we've been spending like 5 to 10 minutes just researching, because they don't say the vintage on the label, but Untapped is full of vintages. And based on when I added it to my beer cellar tracking list and the photos, this has a high probability of being 2016, so 10 years old.
I thought we said 2018, because 2016 was still the big bottles.
You're right.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, 16 seems to be only big bottles. This is a small bottle with a paper label, not a sticker, glossy. Yeah, so probably 18.
This is a bourbon barrel aged stout coming in at 13%.
Yeah. And this Untapped entry doesn't say it, but others do, and the label does, that this is a Demolen collaboration.
Yeah,
all of them are,
of course. And this smells like
cardboard. It doesn't smell very good.
It smells like raisins and dust.
Yeah, definitely raisins, plums, maybe.
A lot of dried fruits in here.
So it's sugary booze water.
There is a bit of a slight alcohol burn that comes up through the nose. Which kind of surprising. I did not expect that. I haven't really had that in a beer in a long time. So,
did you say 13%?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really flat. It's really dry, a little tannic. This beer has seen better days.
It has seen better days.
There is a bit of a burnt, like malt kind of flavor at the end, a little like dark chocolate, you would describe it as.
I actually get a little bit of dark chocolate as well, and I didn't think I would.
Yeah, I think it's mostly from the roastiness of the malts is where you're getting that from. And it's kind of coming out for like a 70-80% pure chocolate kind of level of intensity. But overall, the beer itself it's dead. It's pretty OA, baby. Which is kind of sad, because when you cellar these things, and back in the day, especially in 2018, cellaring stouts was still like a real thing people were very excited about before the post-pandemic adjunct infusion of stouts. So you could take a basic stout like this and age it out for a while, especially Russian imperial stouts and whatnot. But this is probably about
4 or 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
After it's
past what it should have been aged.
I need to note that I didn't cellar this to age it. I put it in the cellar and forgot about it, and then other people opened other vintages of the Black Damnation Mocha Bomb. And I think because this one didn't have in my cellar tracking spreadsheet, it didn't have an age. It didn't have a vintage, because I didn't do this research back then. So probably just went into this, too much hassle. Can't bring it to like, oh, quick, bring beers to a bottle share. I won't bring that because I don't know. Everyone will ask, what vintage is it? I don't know. Let's all sit together in a ring and research photos.
Beer nerds love
Research.
Exactly. They would have been like, oh my God, let's figure this thing out. And then three of us would have sat there and been like this. And then the other two would have been like, let me know when you guys just figure it out. And then I'll check this in.
But as a beer, this doesn't work. As a drinkable alcoholic beverage, it's booze water.
Yeah, it has not held up very well, unfortunately. And honestly, I don't think after 8 years, it could hold up very well.
No.
Stouts just are never meant to last that long, to be for real. But
I'll give it a 2.5.
Yeah, sure, 2.5.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I mean,
you also think because I love the brewery and
Yeah. And you take into account that this is cellar spelunking. The next beer is fun because we've had its siblings on the show way in the past. So this is Avery Brewing, and we've had Planked, which was like an 18% coffee stout. We've had Mephistopheles, which I guess was a 16.66, like 666, some number like that. But this is Uncle Jacob's Stout, which comes in at 17.1% ABV.
Yeah, this is back in the day when I first started really buying beers. And this one came in, it's bad, but they were bringing in all of the Avery really high ABV beers. Avery doesn't make these beers anymore. I think they discontinued these lines shortly after these came out. But I always remember like, oh my God, I cannot wait to get this beer. Even their weird ass pumpkin beer was still real,
like Rumpkin or something.
Yeah.
I'm reading this. I'm reading the label now. So it's brewed in February of 2016. Best before the end of 2026.
Oh,
this one is not expired.
This is just in time.
I've had this fresh in the past, and I used to love it because it was, when this came out in 2016, it was like, wow, big boozy flavor explosion. So I think I have a historical really good rating for this.
Yeah, I gave this a 4.5 in January 1st, 2021.
That's not,
because that was about the time I was going through and emptying out all of the stouts that I had, because I was just like, these are not anything that wasn't a wild ale. I was getting rid of at that time. Wow, that was so long ago. And the Uncle Jacob Stout I was holding on to for a long time. But this looks fun. And I was a little nervous about it, but I saw like a friend of mine had recently checked it in like October of 2025 and give it a 4.2. So
it seems,
I was like, but when we poured this out, I mean, a lot of carbonation still on this. When you agitate it, you still get some foam on top. So there's still a lot of play going on in the carbonation on this beer, which is really, really surprising. I did not expect something like that.
And we said that this is bourbon barrel aged.
Yes. I'm expecting this to be hopefully bourbon barrel aged. It's going to be boozy AF because it's 17%. So that's going to be tough. But let's do this. The nose is boozy.
The nose is boozy. It has a hint of, unfortunately, green bell peppers.
I don't think so. I think it's got a bit of a boozy, like bourbony kind of smell to it.
Let's hope it holds up.
And it's an imperial double stout. Okay, cool. Cheers. Whoo! That's a beer.
Oh, it has these like vodka alcohol vapor.
Yeah, that's how they did it back in the day.
It's still quite oily.
Yeah. It's really, really boozy. And the aftertaste is quite bitter and dry. Hold on.
But this is still a beer. The Struise Mocha Bomb had turned into alcohol water. This is still a beer. This is still a stout. It
That 17% rocks.
It's pretty potent still.
It is a potent mixture. And I would say this is probably the better high ABV beer we've had in episodes. I mean, when you think about some of the high ABV beers we've had recently, they've all just been like milk toast, nothing going on.
Yes.
But the aftertaste on this is still roasty. You still got some chocolate flavors in there. You don't really get a lot of bourboniness in this, but I think because ABV is so high, it'd be kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially from a beer that was done in 2016. The techniques and knowledge for bourbon barrel aging has, grown infinitely. But I think it holds up pretty well. I'm not going to give it as high of a rating as I gave it last time, but it's pretty drinkable, man.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know what to say because I have my mouth full of alcohol vapors.
Yeah, it's so strong. This is what I remember it being last time too. It's really it's hard to drink a bottle by yourself because you really need like a snifter almost to let it sit for like half an hour just to let the alcohol vapors burn off. That's probably maybe what we should have done as well, is to let some of the alcohol vapors burn off a little bit more, because it's...
Yeah, maybe. So before we hit record, I was stressing about these beers oxidizing because we've opened old stouts in the past, and for the first 5 minutes, they've been acceptable. But then they just nosedived hard into very unpleasant, oxidized, cardboardy flavors, like instant drain pour. And I was stressing, like, I'm scared that they're going bad. And I think that's true for the Struise Mocha Bomb. I think that's losing flavor by the second.
Yeah, that beer was already dead when he opened it.
Yeah,
and it went off a cliff after.
Only going worse. But for the Uncle Jacob Stout, it's not as... It's resisting.
I don't know what Avery was doing back in those days, but they really were doing really, really great stuff. And I think this really speaks to the quality of the brewery at the time. I don't know where they are today as far as brewing goes, because we don't really see Avery around here very often.
No.
And it really goes to speak to a lot of the beers that we've had from the cellar. It's like, you were talking a few episodes back about like, oh, the shelves are really slim right now.
Yeah.
And that's true, because I don't know if the importers have just changed to where they're not bringing in, like, we don't see that many Oscar Blues. Occasionally, we'll see a couple of things in the spring, but then nothing for the rest of the year. We don't see Struise anymore. We don't see Avery anymore. We don't see a lot of breweries that we used to see putting out a lot of stuff. And the things we do see are like, we got other half cans, but those cans were best before 3 months before you got them on the shelf, So we're getting a lot of leftover stuff from the US that isn't getting sold. The plus side is we are getting pretty good cans from Canada right now.
Yep. And bottles.
And bottles. Like cans and bottles from Canada. Yeah. Which is really nice. And I like that. And I hope that we see more things coming from Canada as well. What happened to, what was it called? Duciel? Ciel?
Dieu de Ciel.
Yeah. I really like their stuff.
Yeah.
They haven't really been importing.
They made like aphrodisiac imperial stout and stuff like that. Yeah. Dieu de Ciel. Yeah, were some other Canadian breweries like Unibrew and Dieu de Ciel.
But now we're getting, it's not Bellflower. Was it Bellwoods, right. We're getting all the Bellwoods, Canadian. We're getting, what's it called? They always have forced names like Moss and...
I know what you mean.
Forced
like
something or another.
Something drowned.
Yeah, Drowned Lands or something. Yeah, we're getting a lot of their cans recently. So, yeah, I'm glad to see more Canadian beers being imported. And that might just be the state of politics now, where importers are kind of shying away from U.S. imports and moving to Maybe we'll see more Latin American imports coming up in the next year. Or maybe we'll see more, who knows, African or Asian or something else, you know. We haven't seen Australia in a while, so maybe there'll be more Australian beers getting imported. So I think that could be a more interesting beer landscape going forward.
I've seen an uptick in European countries that aren't the regular ones, like Nurme. They made like a barley wine or an imperial porter. I think they're from Estonia or Latvia. Some of those breweries have gotten more shelf space. One other Canadian brewery is Collective Arts.
Oh, yeah. Really like them.
We keep getting their beers now.
Oh, Radio the Mothership is always on the shelves. And that's a pretty good double IPA.
Exactly. That's more on the West Coast. That's way maltier than the New England ones.
But like, we see a lot more Eastern European beers coming in, which is a lot of fun, I think. And especially like Poland and Romania. No,
Romania would only be, my brain died. We've had a lot of Romanian beers in like web shops and in distribution, but not necessarily at the state monopoly.
I wish they'd bring in some more mad scientists. I quite enjoyed their stuff for a while.
And they're Polish.
No, they're from Budapest area.
Uh-huh.
And I wish they would bring Crack from Italy in.
Yeah.
And I really like that we're getting some Soma beers from Spain, but they could bring more of those in.
Yeah,
So
quite a lot of space. But I brought a Crack beer for the Christmas calendar.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
The Monsuenta. That's
from Systembolaget.
Crack is a really great brewery. I think they're doing probably one of the better Italian breweries right now.
Right now we're babbling because we don't want to put a number on this beer.
I'll put a number on this beer. I'm going to give this 3.75.
I am there with you. Strong 3.75.
Mm-hmm.
I realized now that I had actually gotten to try this again in 2019 when it was only 3 years old. And I gave it 3.75 flat. I think it's better than that now.
I gave this a 4.5 in 2021.
Yeah, that is quite a long time ago.
Yes, it was. But yeah, I think it's fun.
So our friends who hang around Torsten, who used to own Beer Ditch in Malmö, they tried it in 2024 and gave it 5, 5, 5, 5.
All right, it's like a crazy what it sells now.
A cool summer night. It doesn't get any better than this.
I think that's more of the
one of the best beers in the world. Also, still the best beer, the world's best beer. Period. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of love for Uncle Jacob's Stout, and the fact that this now is on its last leg of best before dates.
Yeah, I think that, it also takes you back to a time in Systembolaget history where we were getting more interesting stuff and we're trying more things, and the beer landscape was just so different back then. And it's a bit of a nostalgia drag, I think, which is what I think those guys were getting at as well.
They were getting ahead of the nostalgia pipe.
Yeah,
I think so too.
It's like just thinking back to the good old days. Remember when we get Utopia at the Systembolaget?
It cost like 1,400 or 1,700 Swedish kroner.
I believe it was like $12.95.
It could have been $12.95.
Right. So it was 1,295 crowns, which is roughly like $129 US. And to think back now, you'd be like, that's a pretty good buy.
Yeah.
And they had like a lot of those on the shelves. It lasted for a while too. Yeah, I remember the good old days.
Yeah. Back in that days, like around 2010, I bought a bottle of Goose Island Bourbon County Stout Rare, the first vintage of Rare, and I paid $100 for it.
$100 US, 100 crowns.
$100 US, 1,000 Swedish crowns. It was a 65 centiliter bomber. What is that? 22 ounces? Yeah, like a bomber.
Yeah.
And everyone thought like, wow, that's so crazy. It's so expensive. and we had it at a share, and of course it was 5. It was a genuine 5 out of 5.
Yeah, but that was like amazing the first couple of years.
But nowadays, oh, do you want to buy one of the best beers in the world for 1,000 Swedish kroner, $100? Yes, I do, because I have 10 people who want to share that cost with me in a heartbeat. Like, they wouldn't even complain. They were like, yeah, of course. Yeah, one more beer for the rare share. It's so strange. Yeah, that is some nostalgia there. The beer that my white whale that got out of my hands is Samuel Adams Millennium, which was adjacent to Utopias, but it was made for like the Millennium. And in 2010 or 11, I had the opportunity to go to it could have been 7, 8, or 9. I had an opportunity to go to a tasting where it was open, and I missed it. And that was the last time I saw anyone drink it, like in Northern Europe.
Probably, yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
All of the bottles were signed by the brewer.
Ooh, so there was...
And it came in this wooden box with this velvet lining, which nowadays more brewers have started doing just to exclusify their beers. But back then, nothing.
413 chickens in the world.
In the world.
Of course, the one person that's checked it in.
Stefan Alexi.
No, Xiaodi.
Yeah, Stefan Alexi.
Oh, Stefan Alexi was also
He has drank it, yeah. No, Xiaodi must have drank it later.
Oh, Xiaodi drank it in 2024.
But he is a baller.
And gave it a 4.5.
I'm not sure he listens to the podcast, but shout out to Xiaodi.
I'm pretty sure he did not.
Xiaodi in Stockholm is an absolute baller in the Swedish beer world.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. I
took a larger sip now. This is holding up surprisingly well. It's a stout. I mean, it hasn't gone dusty, it hasn't gone minty green, it hasn't gone cardboard.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, there was some sort of Denver Rare Beer Tasting 2016. And I don't know what I would give anything to understand the situation. But it is like, wow, this would have been crazy to go to. Anyway, they had the 2019 Utopias on cocoa nibs and orange peel, which is the same now as Millennium at that point. So just not long ago, they had a beer tasting where it was available.
What was the Utopia's cocoa nib?
Well, it's the 2019 Utopias Utopias on cocoa nibs and orange peel. That was the Samuel Adams Millennium. Samuel Adams Millennium?
No.
Yes.
Samuel Adams Millennium did not have cocoa nibs and orange peel.
Well, I'm just telling you, this is what Samuel Adams has put up.
What?
Yeah, so if you look at Millennium...
Yeah. That makes no sense.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing on. Only 3,000 bottles were produced.
Extreme beer following triple bock, yeah?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
As we do our research online. And you can chase your white whale still.
Yeah.
All right. Was it Ahab?
Captain Ahab was chasing Moby Dick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can chase your white whale.
Call me Ishmael.
Exactly. So you can find us online at What's on Tap Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you find podcasts, you can find What's on Tap. So until next time,
keep drinking it, dum-dum.